Good friends, they are back by popular demand. Patty Greer and Chris Burris from our friends at C60. I'm going to be moving this all around. And you are, first of all, I'm so glad that you are here. Maybe that's better. Welcome back, Patty and Chris. And Chris, let me start with you. You are the chief scientist. Let me make sure you understand this. And very, very quickly, for those people who want to hear this, and we'll get to the fun part. But this formula, and we'll get to this in a moment, is so important. What is this, and what is C60 Evo? Before we get let's
start with why it's so important. Is actually responsible for the single longest longevity experimental result on mammals in history, a full 90% extension of life. That is the study that really kind of launched this into the health space. It is the reason that you might want to continue to listen, because 90% extension of life is by far the biggest extension. In fact, the next closest thing is called calorie restriction. And it's well understood, if you reduce your calorie consumption by 30%, I call that the starve yourself 1/3 to death diet. If you do that diet, you can extend your life by 30%. So you compare and contrast this well-documented starve yourself 1/3 to death diet compared to, like, hey, let's just take this molecule dissolved in a delicious olive oil once a day, 1 teaspoon of it. They're really not comparable. By the way, that's a study on rats, so there's still more work to do. I don't actually think we're going to be extending life by 90%, but the testimonials that we're getting regarding this molecule that has extended the life of mammals by 90% are phenomenal. And now, what are we talking about? So that's kind of the why should you want to listen to me be the little geeky guy that you see in front of you. I'm now holding up a molecule. If you're listening, just imagine a soccer ball, and the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. So you got a spherical molecule of 60 carbon atoms. That molecule was discovered in 1985 here in Houston. That's where we're based, at Rice University. And the 3 scientists who discovered it went on to win the Nobel Prize for that discovery in 1996. So a short 11 years from being awarded the Nobel Prize. From discovering it to being awarded the Nobel Prize. Again, they were awarded that in 96. My business partner and I started manufacturing it in 1991, a full 5 years before the Nobel Prize was granted. It's highly probable that us delivering commercial quantities of carbon nanomaterials to researchers around the world, by the way, we still do that to this day, is part of the reason that the scientists were aware of the amazing attributes of this molecule, and part of the reason they won that Nobel Prize. And then I mentioned the study already that happened, was published in 2012. And now here we are. Just our goal is to share this amazing research with as many people as possible. And frankly, to continue to get more people to try it and deliver to us amazing testimonials.
Now, one of the interesting things I think, Chris, about this was that when you brought this up at first, you looked at it as almost an industrial version of it. And then later on, you found out the health components were afterwards. So you kind of went into this, and it's used in a variety of graphites and lubricants and blah, 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 blah. But aside from that, Patty, how did you get into it, and what does this stuff do? Now that we know what this is, what's your story and your testimonial?
I want to finish bragging about Chris's claims. I do want to say that the 2012 study actually used our product. So I take it personally, this 90% life extension, it came from our lab. It didn't come from anybody else's. So I'm really proud of my partners. The other thing that he so humbly didn't mention was that these rats died without tumors, which to me is as important as long life, because we're being tested with the food, the water, everything. So to have something that can help us in those 2 ways, live longer and perhaps not get tumors, or assist in that benefit, to me is massive. So,
and you know, if Peanut had been taking this, who knows? It might have been a different story altogether. Don't forget Fred. Both of those 2 critters whacked by virtue of a fascist. Anyway, I just want to.
Well, I gotta say
something about Peanut. If you ask me, which we'll talk about what happened, nobody will ever be able to quantify how upset that made people regarding Peanut. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, had had Peanut and Fred been taking, actually, I probably would have given them the dog formula because it's got bacon in it. The cat one has salmon essence. So, but I think Peanut would have probably loved the dog formula. He probably would have been so much faster than those agents that he would have outrun them and they wouldn't have been able to take him in. So I wish I had had the foresight to send them some Evo. I apologize, world. But
well, let's start off with this, if we could. By the way, this is the most important thing. Now, this, you know, it's funny. Right after we last talked, everybody's kind of doing this, like, hey, let's do a shot of this. It's like, wait a minute. This was the normal routine. Here's a bottle of it. They would just float their food in it, and they would say, here comes the health benefits. That's not what we're talking about here. That's not it. We're talking about, if you will, an almost a medicinal, de minimis, dare I say, amount or quantity of this that I think makes the most sense. We're not talking about this, but let's just take this. This is the, and by the way, all of this can be purchased. Go to c60evo.com/Lionel, Lionel Nation. Okay, here's our stuff. You get up in the morning, you feel like, you feel good, or you feel, okay, you've got a different kind. I have the
avocado.
Okay, you've got the avocado. I've got the organic. Here's what we do. I just take this, take the cap, a little bit in here. Cheers. Here's mud your eye. Here's the women, women. And that's it. Period. End of discussion. Ta-da!
We're going to be so damn smart in 10 minutes. We're going to just have a hard time not talking. But you asked me why I got into it. And I used to be in the UFO field. I survived. I was one of the few that didn't die. But everybody that I filmed, I was a filmmaker in the UFO field for 10 years. They're all gone, all the greats. We got infiltrated. And then I got wounded. But I didn't die. And it was because somebody gave me the C60 Evo formula from Chris and Robert's lab in Houston, Texas. And it didn't have a label. It was kind of, you know, hippie guy hands me a sample. And I was like, what is this? And I could tell instantly that it was something that might help me because I almost couldn't walk. So I've gone through some pretty intense attempts on my life because I told the truth when we're not supposed to. But yay, everything changed a few days ago. I am still doing the dance.
We gotta, you know what? Wait a minute. Time out. We're supposed to be talking about, you know, olive oil. That story sounds, you say this, well, it was UFOs in the field and they try to kill me. But anyway, I say, wait a minute. Anyway, we'll do that eventually. We'll pick up on that because you just can't just say, oh, by the way.
Oh, by the way, they tried to, yeah. I was on Coast to Coast Radio 8 times. I used to be the it girl in the crop circle world. I was in 100 crop circles over the course of 10 years. And I was so green that I didn't know, don't tell the truth. So now we know. But the good thing is we're allowed to tell the truth now, coming up, you know, in a few weeks. But I'm already celebrating. And when Bobby Kennedy Jr. received the first box of what we call the sampler set, I sent it to him. All 3 flavors. My friend tours with him, so I had a backstage pass. And I said, ask Bobby if he'll try this. And hopefully he'll start speaking more clearly. That was my intention. And keep him alive. Hello. But we've delivered 3 collection sets to him. And I just got a thank you gift. I got my personal Make America Healthy Again hat.
It's funny, but look at it, looks like mafia. If you look at it far away and you can't really make out the H, it, by the way, he has that spasmodic dysphonia and his sister has it too. There is something, there's a genetic aspect to that. Now, can I tell you what the greatest part of this is? Can I tell you my testimonial? Praise God. In my own, there I was walking down the street and I looked up and I said, I need an answer. Praise God. Anyway.
What that means?
I have, for some particular reason, my ankles in particular have taken on a crocodile-like texture. And I was thinking about joining a circus, going on the road and letting people look at my triceratops skin. My wife was always saying, you've got to put something, you've got a lotion. I said, I don't like these things. They're oily, they're penguin. I didn't like the smell. Okay. Not serendipity, but stupid. I looked at this and this is the Rich Body Cream tangerine. So I looked at this, right? The consistency, the smell alone, it is God sending. It is, it's like I don't know if it's a humectant or whatever, but it's an emollient as opposed to an emolument, which is a clause they wanted to go after Trump with, but I digress. The smell, the texture, it lasts forever. This is a godsend. You can have all of the others, the goop, I don't like the feel. This is liquid enough, emollient enough that it just soaks in. This is you have saved my skin. I'm telling you, my circus career has been shot. My wife is saying, thank God. This is incredible. Now, another thing, I do a lot of talking. I do a lot of going around. And I used to always go for these bombs and that sort of thing. This one, the C60 Evo lip renewal, incredible. And also this is vegan as well. So yes, it is the olive oil. That's correct. But I'm telling you, the lotion, this, if I jumped into a vat of this, I would disappear. I think every scale would be, this is from another, I've never had a product of any kind, nothing, digitalis, surgery, nothing to me is great. And the smell is, you know how sometimes you put something on and you think, oh, the perfume is tangerine. It's the greatest. If for no other reason, that is the greatest. And this, the olive oil in the morning. See, this is something which to me makes so much sense. It's quick. You will feel better. And who cannot spare? What did that take? What was that, Chris? What a picosecond, a hepatosecond? Boom, that's it. See you. Have a nice day. Incredible. No reason not to buy this. And Christmas is just around the corner. Great stocking stuffer, and it's fine for dad or grad.
And it's good for everyone. It's not like a female or a male product. And I will tell you, everything we make with the scent has intention. And the reason for the tangerine, because I had to do 2 rounds. And because we're a real lab, every time I said, oh God, I don't like the smell, only the first one, I had to go 4 months longer because we do real testing. So we had to put the new scent in, which is divine, heaven sent, like you said. We had to wait 4 months, but I'm willing, and so was Chris, to wait again. And we just put it out a couple months ago. So I am loving the results. You said only one thing that I can't agree with. You said it'll last forever. Mine's almost gone. So, if you use it, it won't last.
I did. That was absolutely perjurious on my part. It was the mendacity that I exhibited. This is terrific. I got to say, I've been doing this business a long time, and I have been rather, shall I say, loath, chary, wary of people saying things that, they can't prove or whatever it is. I defy, especially the topical. That's the one where you either get it or you don't. You can't say, this is terrible. No, it's not. No, yes, it is. Other things you can argue about, do you feel better? This is the greatest, natural, beautiful, perfect. I am so in love with your products. Love with it because we live in this world of artificial everything. And Chris, I am an amateur organic chemist. I love the idea of benzenes, and I remember the old days being in the labs of Grignard reagents and Tollens tests, and I'm going to name my first pet Avogadro. I love the notion of chemistry and the beauty of this, but isn't it funny, through serendipity, you were doing something involving industrial use, and it just so happens that this C60 turns out to be, it's almost like God was saying, no, grasshopper, keep going. Keep going. Look at this. I was reading something about Ignaz Semmelweis, who was the first person to say, why don't we wash our hands? And how he came to that conclusion is a story of stories. Some of the greatest inventions and discoveries of all time happened sometimes inadvertently. And that's kind of sort of what happened with you. And it's 100% safe. Because let me explain something quickly. I'm talking too much because I'm excited. I think it's the stuff I just took.
It is.
But you know, Chris, we live in this world. It's like carbon taxing, carbon. We have carbon over. We got to get rid of the carbon. Scrub it with the carbon. What about the carbon? Your carbon footprint. Your carbon is the basis of organic chemistry. That's what an organic molecule is. Carbon is good. Try living without this. Am I right or wrong, sir?
Oh, 100% right. Like, we are carbon beings. There is no doubt about that. You know, I think people need to be very careful about what types of carbon molecules that they're talking about, and understand that a molecule is different than just pure carbon. I kind of want to pique your interest, because you kind of talked about organic chemistry, loving the concepts of designing and building things with benzene. And this is kind of how you might know that you're going to get a Nobel Prize. There is a new symbol in chemistry because of this ESS60 molecule, right? So again, molecule discovered in 85. They won the Nobel Prize in 96. The at symbol did not exist in chemistry prior to this molecule, right? We're familiar with the at symbol with our email addresses, right? But now if you take, say, a lanthanum at C60, so C60 is the industrial carbon, that means a lanthanum atom physically trapped inside of the cage. So not covalently or ionically bonded on the exterior, but physically trapped inside of it. So yeah, super geeky. You and I could probably go have coffee or a beer and enjoy hours of chemistry conversations. I think that the takeaway for this is our current understanding is this is positively impacting the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of every cell. Right. You have between 50 and 5,000 mitochondria in every cell in your body, except for blood cells, which have 0, and neurons and nerve cells, which have 2 million, right? That's how much energy they use. And this is positively impacting the function of the mitochondria. A lot of supplements are out on the market going, hey, look at us. We're amazing. We're cellular. We operate at the cellular level. We're actually in the mitochondria. That means we're operating at the subcellular level. You don't get more fundamental. And when people ask, hey, you've got these head to toe testimonials, where are they coming from? Like what is causing head to toe testimonials, right? If it just had positive impact on the liver, you'd have liver testimonials or heart, and you'd have heart condition testimonials. We have head to toe testimonials, and it's because we think, this is the current theory, it's because of the positive impact on the mitochondria.
Well, it's funny that we talk about this. There's always, it's interesting, Chris, when we always talk about, you have these, I think these phony balonies out there, these Neil deGrasse Tysons, these gatekeepers, Patty, these gatekeepers, the Sagans who are sworn to never point out the obvious. But anyway, they always talk about big and light years and light years and light years. Well, in the opposite direction is the small. And it's not that it's small, it's just far away. And at the cellular level, that to me interests me more than Uranus. I hate to be personal about that, Chris, but Uranus has never interested me in the least. Another thing I was watching recently was the diet of the Roman soldiers. What do you think they were out there? Along with their meat, olives, olive oil. And I also want to tell people, please, olive oil, it's not for kids. If you pour it on everything, it's not good, 2 or 3 cups at a time. I don't know where people said, hey, who needs butter? Wait a minute. No. Take it easy. This is powerful stuff. Yes, you can, flavor and season. But Patty, that's the thing about this. The way you talk about olives and olive oil and C60, it's almost, daintily. It's almost sacrilege to sit here and put it in some wine decanter and say, no, that's gold. Please be careful with this. This is not just something you want to fry a burger in or something. This is special. Am I overreacting?
Okay.
Or am I high? One of the two.
No, this is the size of the bottle that I like to keep around, you know, in case UPS dies or, you know,
Yeah.
the country changes. I've got my big ass bottle, which is 32 ounces. It's we're the only company I think that it's probably takes two hands to hold it for very long. But we do all different sizes. But this is probably how much I've taken in the last 3 years. And I lived through 2 full hip replacements this year. And in a month, I'm going to see my surgeon after a year. And I'm taking in this huge crystal cluster. You can see my house is full of crystals. But the light that he brought back into my life, I gave me 2 new hips, and I healed so fast it made his head spin. Everybody's saying, "How are you doing this?" And I keep trying to say, "In my purse, I've got a sample. Let me give you a bottle." And of course, being medical people in America, they're not allowed to say okay. But I'm like the phenomena around the office because I healed really fast. But I think more intense than that, as my testimonial for this incredible miracle molecule that we put together with all different oils in our lab, this is the strongest. The olive is the strongest of any product on the market. And we've tested them all. For me, I went 3 years bone on bone hips, and I did just fine. And when I finally couldn't walk in December a year ago, I interviewed a number of surgeons, and the second guy brought in 2 other surgeons, and they were staring at me. And I thought, I'm here to interview you. What's this circus that you brought in? And he said, we've never seen anybody like you. This is a year ago and 2 months.
Well, you
And
know, you have to ask, you know, Patty, you have to ask yourself this question. If they're asking you, if they're saying, what are you doing differently? Well, I'm doing this. Now, you know, Chris, I'm into the scientific method, but I think it makes sense to say, well, if everything is static and you're adding something all of a sudden, I think that probably has something to do with the improvement, if that's all that's changing. You know, what's so
now
funny?
now that my
Chris,
brain's working faster, I should have taken the bottle and put it in my shirt so that when they said, how are you doing it? I could have been more dramatic.
You know, what's really critical, it's very important, and I can't say this enough, and I mean this, that we are given sometimes the keys to health. And dare I say this, and I think Bobby Kennedy and other people would probably agree, they don't make money. They don't make money if people are well. It's an old, and I'm sorry to say this, it's an old adage, but if you went to a doctor and said, Doc, I'm feeling great, how do I continue feeling great? He'll look at you like, what are you talking about? He takes out his pad. What is he going to do? Give you olive oil? No, he's asked to. So God love doctors. We need them, you know, surgery, you know, physician heal thyself and all that. But I'm telling you that this is something that people have, you've got to try this. Now, I mentioned this, Patty, and I'm not kidding, but there is this thing called, you know, Christmas is just around the corner. What about that? If I want to give wait a minute, hold it.
Did you try this yet? For speaking of Christmas, this is my favorite. Have you tried it?
Yeah, I think last time. Well, can I be honest with you?
Please.
I have had I had a wonderful batch of sample last time that was stolen, not stolen, but we started to like say somebody. We've showed a few people, and it was gone. That's why I had to up that. But I did have that initially. There were so many initial batches of things and potions and elixirs. I'm down to.
Are you telling me that the deep state broke windows, broke in, and stole our Evo?
The shadow government did. Deep state, I don't know. We don't talk about that. Well, tell me what you've got there. Why is that so good?
Okay. So in my bathroom, I will admit that I have a dear friend who's got a facial clinic. And so she talked me into trying her products again. So there's 3 bottles. And I got half price. It was only $500 for those 3 bottles. Nothing like this, in my opinion, to be honest. But I have to honor people that say, please try my product, even though I had to pay $500. So it's 3 different bottles. You have to wait 5 minutes between. And I'm going, I can't even understand the ingredients. I have a rule about these things. If I can't pronounce it, it's not going in or on. So I did run out last week. So I thought, okay, I'll try her products. And, you know, I did it for a few days. But when I can do this, which is 21 organic, natural, vegan ingredients that are like put together like a dream, The essence is rosemary, which takes your dreams into a higher frequency. The esoteric in me says, because I work with Brigitte Mars, and she helped me design this formula. It's got a base of chia seed oil. Nobody else's product, I don't think, facial serum has chia seed oil. So it's this miracle formula with our miracle molecule made in our miraculous lab in Houston, Texas. And when I first said to Chris and Robert, the guys at the lab, oh, my skin, and I rode a Harley for 50,000 miles, no helmet, no nothing. Well, I wore a shirt, but my skin looked like it. And as soon as I started using this, taking it on a spoon, I'd take the spoon, wipe it, rub it on my hands, put it on my skin. And then I called him and I said, this stuff is making my skin better. Can we do a face formula? And he's like, yeah, right. We're a bunch of guys in a lab, right?
So yay, face formula.
Yeah. And so finally he gave in, they gave in, and they made the recipe, which was absolutely a hit. And we sell it like crazy. And so it took him a year to call me and confess, oh, well, we've been doing so well with that skin formula that the guys and I at the lab actually came up with another skin formula also. Chris, you have both? There it is. It's hiding in my bucket. It takes two. And it's because this one has peptides. So now we're doing this amazingness in a formula also with peptides. So you mix it in your palm. He loves to model it every time we do a show. Look at him. I mean, 85 years old. He looks fabulous.
Yeah, right. Ever since the fertilizer accident, you should have seen him before, but now he's looking
Yep. No, so you mix it in your palm, and the reason for this is so we don't add chemicals and emulsifiers like all these other products do that used to cover my bathroom counter. All I have on my counter now is this and
look at this.
This. So simple.
You're refulgent. Look at this. This is incredible. Look at this man. And by the way, it's also a great trick. If you ever pulled over for drunk driving, say, wait, officer, hold it. I will do your drunk driving test. But first this. And then you take off in the meantime and hope to God he says, let the man go. Now, I always like to tell people, listen, you know, we can talk about this all day long, and that's great, and we can do this. But once people try this, they'll say, okay, I'm sold. I'm sold. If you listen, if you don't see something immediately from this, no, I mean immediate. I mean, look at it, and if the smell of the tangerines and this wonderfully, dare I say, penguin, this wonderful, this what is the word? Not lugubrious. I'm trying to think. Unctuous. This unctuous, wonderful smoothie. Yes, this emollient. If this doesn't melt your butter, there's something very wrong with you. There's something wrong with you, and you deserve to be incarcerated or put into the home because there's something. It is that good. Now, Patty, what if somebody wants to? They're watching and say, "All right, I want to do it. Tell me, take me through it, ease me into it. What should I do?"
Well, if you only want to do one product, then you definitely want to try the C60 Evo organic olive oil because it'll boost your energy and your mental focus all day long like no tomorrow. We have all different sizes, goes up to 32, down to 4 ounce, 8 ounce, 16 ounce. And for people that travel or that don't like the taste of oil on a spoon, we have capsules that are a really great seller because you can take them on the airplane and they won't take them out of your.
Now, one more thing before I forget. Every single day, what's the dosage? What's the maximum dosage? What am I talking about? How little does this take every day? What am I talking about?
Well, I hope your box came with an instruction thing because we had this beautiful glossy of instructions on all the products. So what people want to do is try a teaspoon. And if you're hardcore, try a tablespoon. But there's 3 flavors and the olive is the strongest. It's
wait a minute. One time. That's it, right?
One time.
That's what I'm saying. Most people, See, listen, if I'm trying to sell this, I'm saying, no, 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 Patty, you tell them, take the first hour, and then 2 hours later, you come back. So you get rid of it. It's like the guy who came up with the shampoo who said, the first person who said, oh, here we go, apply, rinse, repeat, hey, repeat.
Nope.
You're saying one time a day, that's it.
Well, it's up to you how much buzz you want to get. If you're doing heavy research, you might want to take another dose midday. I take a dose whenever we do a show. And if I do it after 3, I don't sleep well because it gives so much energy. But Chris can do a gallon and go right to sleep and a cup of coffee. So everybody's body is different, but I recommend take it before noon. Take a spoonful, a teaspoon or a tablespoon, depending on the size of your body and how much buzz you want. But it's not like a coffee buzz. It's a very smooth, organic.
But see, that's the thing, because it needs time to, dare I say, to perfuse, to extravagate through your system, to permeate, to be broadcast through. That's the part that I love. The very fact that you're saying you're not like, going like this. It is that powerful, that sensitive, and it's just ease into it. Feel, pay attention, watch what's happening. It's one of the best. Listen, you'll know what I'm talking about. Also, if you're one of these lip balm people, I know these people that do this.
It's so good.
Best. I told you. Oh, here we go. This one. This I never leave home without it, because I never realized it wasn't so much the fact I needed water, but my lips were gone, because when you do as much talking as we do, this is incredible. And I have 2 times. But this, I'm telling you, I smell the tangerines now. And you have no idea. My wife said I'm not going to mention the brand. She has this stuff. I don't know what it is. I don't know how expensive. Because do you know what this is? I don't like it. It's greasy. I don't like the smell of it. And it didn't work. Grease, I could put Crisco on it. That's not the point. This just seems to perfectly mix with the organic structures of my skin. It's incredible. The tangerine, unbelievable. Elbows, feet. There's nothing sadder to me than to see somebody who spends all this. I'm sorry to say this. Cover your ears, Chris, because you're a young man. But these poor people who spend all this money on, I don't know what, pedicures, and their heels look like should be in a circus, like some fetlocked, some type of livestock. It's like, what are you doing? People with dry skin, my God, it's like the Sahara. Use this. You can uncover your ears, Chris, because you're a young man, and the stuff we're talking about is enough. And I've seen, dead bodies in the field. Speaking of being in the field, in any event, C60 Evo. Now, if somebody right now, Patty, goes to c60evo.com/Lionel Nation, what are we talking about here? This will send them into the only place they should go, because that gives me credit and lets people know that this was effective.
And there's a coupon code there.
There's a secret code that's just yours, and it'll save them 10% at checkout, along with a number of other discount codes that we have, especially for the holidays. And you were saying, what do I recommend? What I give people is the sampler set. I love this because it's all 3 flavors. And they're all 3 different frequencies, different energies. This is the strongest. This is the next strongest. But I personally put MCT coconut oil in my coffee every morning because I love the soft energy. It's half as strong, and so I put in twice as much. But I have coffee every morning, so I never forget my Evo. Very important. And this also fabulous for Christmas. So we have memberships, which is subscriptions, saves you 20%. So no matter what you buy, you can save 20% if you sign up for a monthly subscription, and you can cancel at any time. Phone call, email, we don't even ask questions. But interestingly enough, at the end of the year, Chris and I are always watching numbers, and more than half of our sales are resubscriptions. To me, that's a testimonial, saying that 4 years ago, she's still taking it, and she's added the body cream. Oh, she added the face serum, and she's still doing everything monthly. You save 20%. Plus Lionel's 10% off discount.
There you go.
This page. And so you can use all the discounts if you buy the Inside and Out set, which is the olive oil and the face serum, or the capsules and the face serum. We have all different sets on your page and holiday specials. but they'll get 15% off for any collection that's more than one item. So you can do a collection set and then use Lionel's code. The biggest discount is 25% off if you get.
Wait a minute. What?
If you get a dozen of anything. It's a case. And imagine a case of this. You could give your wife one, and then her lotion would smell as good as yours.
Yes.
Yeah. But 25% off. And again, best deal on earth. 25% off. Get a case. Give it to everybody for Christmas. And use Lionel's code for 10% off. The 25% off. And you're going to be killing it with a great price. The other nice thing is that everything we send out looks like this. Like the gift wrap is basically done. Everything's in a beautiful, colorful package. We've got the dog and cat formulas, and there's the dog lover set, the cat lover set. But again, they come with a bottle for you and a bottle for your pet, or you can just get the products alone. But keep in mind, with the holidays, what am I going to get Grandma? How easy. So my mom's 95, if I may brag. She takes C60 Evo. She's outlived all of her friends at this lovely place she lives, and she's getting lonely. And
I was going to say that, yeah.
Should I feel bad? She just said last week, Patty, I'm running out of my oil. So I hear her help
and
her
friends.
Well, yeah. I hear her friend in the background. I said, would you check the cabinet? She can't be out. And she said, no, we opened the last bottle this week. No, your mom really takes it. And I said, Mom, you got to start giving some to your dog, because if the dog goes, and he's 16-year-old Shih Tzu. This dog is so old, like a tree. And my mom said, oh, no, you sent me the bottle. He gets his drops and I get mine. Oh, my God, thank God. I'm like, she'll be 105 in 10 years, and I'll still be sending her Evo.
Chris, what do you tell your friends when they say, what do you do? What is your connection with this? You, Mr. Science, Mr. Linus Pauling, Mr. Mr. Avogadro, have you ever said, well, here, try some of this? Because this is because like, for example, Patty talks about a harmony and frequency, and I love this. And you're into, covalent bonds and, numbers and atomic weights and all this stuff. So what does a man of science do when he merges in with the world of humectants and fragrance and olive oil and energy? What do you do?
Well, I can share two things, because one is like what do I explain to people? I'll talk about that second. But first, here's just a small story. I was at a networking event. I don't always have samples on me, but I usually do. And so I give this guy a sample, like a full bottle. And he's like, why are you giving this to me? Like, this is a valuable bottle. It's like, because I know you'll want more. Like I don't really, I can tell the research. I'm going to say, yeah, they live 90% longer. And our most consistent testimonials, people take it in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. I can say that and then hand them a bottle and just not have to worry about it. But just to kind of like go back to an old story, when we were in our lab, just manufacturing an industrial purpose of this, we had a UPS guy came in and he was like, hey, what do you and Robert do? And that's my business partner.
Breaking Bad. They're thinking, right? What are we doing?
Well, I have another story along those lines, but that's a different one. And he's like, well, what do you do? And Robert and I like took turns, and like, this is what the molecule does, and this is how we make it, and all this stuff. And like, after, a UPS guy doesn't have time to spend listening to us talk about that. And he goes, so basically you're scientists. And we're like, yeah, that's right. That's right.
What's so funny? I remember when I loved in college, I loved organic. And I loved when you have a test, when you start off with a toluene here, and then there's a space, and all of a sudden there's a carboxyl group, and there's a methyl group, and you think, how did you go from here to here? And you have to know all the intermediary steps. It's like being a detective. And I loved the way this worked. And I would come up but the thing I'll never forget was the notion of radicals. A radical. All of a sudden, these little electrons are cleaved, and all of a sudden, one becomes unstable. And that's dangerous, because it says, I want to find something to pair up with. Now, of course, we know that electrons don't even have weight. They're more vibration, and we approximate, but work with me on this. So they're looking for something, and they'll say, there we go. And that may not be what nature intends. So the notion of the antioxidant to stabilize, to quell, to silence that free radical out there. Now, what I just told you is probably one of the best explanations of the mechanics of a lot of pathologies and disease. I made it sound cartoon-like, but that's exactly what it is. And you mentioned before, Patty, you said, well, this isn't chemicals. Yes, olive oil is a chemical. Chemicals are great. It may not be in a jar on a lab. It may not have a funny 2,4,3 isobenzyl, whatever, but it's chemistry. So to disabuse ideas or people from the idea of that, yes, there is something kind of a hippy-dippy and whatever about feeling, but there's also hard science about this. And some of the most incredibly terrible things that people go through can be described and brought to the notion of chemistry and the idea of change. So to me, it's one big thing. And another thing too, I'm going to say this, Patty, we don't get hippy dippy and spiritual enough. We don't do it. We don't talk about crystals and smells and aromatherapy and sounds. And I don't know what that is. That's Baphomet or some kind of a satanic talisman. I have no idea.
Pendulum made of crystal, the highest frequency you can get.
By the way,
no Baphomet in my house.
One time we were at the IFC in the village, and there was a movie called Hail Satan, and it was about the fellow from about this Satanist, and they got a bad rap. So the fellow who was announcing Hail Satan was playing. He stands outside, he starts yelling, "Hail Satan!" I said, "Look, pal, keep it to yourself. Whatever you believe is your business." He goes, "No, I'm it's the name of the movie." Anyway, I've always loved the dark side. I like stuff that people are into. I'm sorry. I like Santeria, not personally, brujeria, botanicas. I love somebody who, when something lasts for thousands of years, it must be making sense to a lot of people. That's when people say, I don't think acupuncture works. Well, why do you think they've been doing it for so long? What are they, just fools? So when you talk about things, when you talk about crystals and you talk about emotions and spirituality and olive oil and harmony, there's something to it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people don't know what they're talking about, but a lot of people do. And you do. And that, because if you don't, this is a lot of work to be going through just for a practical joke.
Right. Well, the only reason I teased and brought up my big girl pendulum is because this is the only way that I knew Trump was going to win. And, a lot of people talk to different people. I watch congressional hearings until I'm blue in the face. People are like, "You do what?" It's like, "Yeah, I do." And I'm so happy.
I'm going to party with you, honey. I'm going to party with you. Party at Patty's. C-SPAN on.
Yeah, you and I, Roseanne and I, we can go on for days. But, we're older and we've been through it. And I lived in the canyon where Manson did his slaying. And we heard the screams. And we thought,
wait a minute. Were you part of the Spawn Ranch? Chris, did you know this? Do you have any stories like this? She partied with Manson.
And you went,
don't be so upset. Look, Charlie didn't do anything. I got to tell you a true story.
I heard it.
I'm kidding. But I'm going to tell you right now, Charlie never killed anybody. True story. Because if you want to read this, because you know what Bugliosi did, setting him up. Read Chaos. Understand this. I'm not trying to stand up for Manson, but he never killed anybody. That's another story. I don't want to bring this into it, but pay attention, Chris. This is an important story.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't think Fauci did either, but we are about to step into the biggest die-off, I think. I'm seeing so many people outside my family because we didn't do the thing, but a lot of people are going through it now. And when we've got a remedy that's 172 times more powerful than vitamin C as an antioxidant, number one, I don't get sick. I can't say anybody else, but my family also doesn't get sick. And I'm watching a lot of people around us going through things that we're not. We all take the Evo.
Well, that's certainly that's a very interesting subject, and I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of that one day. But what I like to say is there's a whole, let me tell you something, Chris, as you know, before they came up with the notion of radiation, people thought that was ridiculous too. It's like, what are you talking about? Radiation. Then all of a sudden, Madame Curie to the rescue. Well, friends, Patty Greer and Chris Burres, I've got to tell you something. This is one of the most, first of all, I love just talking to you because I'll be honest with you. I like to watch Chris's face because he's thinking, this man's insane. I've spent my whole life in science and they put me.
I'm actually writing words down. I have about 3 words that I need to go confirm the definition of. Your vocabulary is extensive, sir.
Well, no. Well, you know what? Words are merely
rare. That's
words.
Rare.
Words are merely their colors and they just explain. And the best words are the little words, the little tiny words. You know, those are the most interesting. But in any event, C60evo.com/Lionel Nation. This is incredible. You've heard it right now. Just go there and read up. Enjoy yourself. This is the best product, bar none. Roseanne, bar none. No, bar none. It is absolutely wonderful. And Chris Burris, chief scientist, it's a pleasure. And everybody's favorite mountain girl. What was that? Who was that? Was that Jerry Garcia's friend? Was it Mountain Girl or?
Girl.
We got to give you.
I'm the crappie girl. That's what they
crappie
call
girl. We're gonna call Chris Moondog or something. We got to give you a hippie name, something, you know, Star Child or something. Remember the great line from Taxi when Jim Ignatowski, his real name is Worthington, and somebody said, Ignatowski, where did you get that name from? He said, that's Star Child spelled backwards. He says, no, it isn't. He says, it's not. Anyway,
Telstar. I could be Telstar because that's actually the original soccer ball that looked in the current shape of the soccer ball was a Telstar by Adidas.
Really? I did not know. I did not know that.
Okay. I want to say one last thing.
Here we go.
When President Trump steps into the House again, the big White House with Bobby, on day 1, they're going to be doing so many incredible things. Bobby has already said no more fluoride in the water. Well, duh, wouldn't that be great? When they hit the chemtrails, duh, wouldn't that be great? But the fact that Bobby, I'm pretty sure, has been taking C60 Evo, wouldn't it be great if he cleaned up the fluoride, the chemtrails, the food supply, all these terrible things that they're doing with pharma, and then he recommends 1 spoonful in the morning, and life changes.
Well, that would be one endorsement. That would be one endorsement. I gotta tell you one thing. You know what's funny? Chris, is fluorine? Is that a halogen? Is that a fluorine? Is a halogen? Or
I think you're right. Like that's not my particular expertise, but yeah, I think you're right.
Well, but I'm saying those are weird salts and chloride and all the bromine, chlorine, fluoride. Anyway, those salt things. But the thing I've always wondered about this is, you know, the government doesn't care at all anything about us. Why does it care so much about our teeth all of a sudden? I never. And whenever you go to the dentist and they give you they go, now spit it out. Don't swallow it. It's like, why? It's fluoride. Well, what's wrong with fluoride? No.
It's in my water. Thank you, government. Yeah.
But I'm saying, why is this okay? And why do you care so much about this? And by the way, you mentioned chemtrails. We never call them chemtrails. They're called geoengineering. And the great Dane Wigington from geoengineeringwatch.org. We're going to get to the bottom. And the thing is, it's been there. Solar radiation management, carbon dioxide removal. All you got to do is look. And I've never understood, why don't people just ask? What is that? Just ask. I don't know what, but I've seen people say, well, what do you mean? There. What do you mean there? Well, that's condensation. That's not water vapor. Chris, I think we're scientifically stupid, but this may be scientifically moribund or comatose or something. We don't even have practical common sense as to what is just basic physical properties. You know, when you go out and you breathe in the cold, your breath doesn't spread out over Cincinnati. At least mine doesn't. Water vapor doesn't last this long. It doesn't block the sun. There's no critical thinking. There's no rudimentary ABCDarian fundamental logic here. People don't know anything. Well, we're going to put an end to that with this. C60evo.com, like that segue, or a segu as we call it. C60evo.com/Lionel Nation. You guys are so terrific. Let's do this again, shall we? Wasn't this fun? Huh?
I'm just wondering how many more words you would know if you it didn't have fluoride in your water.
Right.
Oh,
if my pineal gland were still working. Oh, absolutely. You know, there's this wonderful, wonderful word, which is floccinaucinihilipilification. And it's not well, it's technically the longest word. Not that anti-disestablishmentarian. Anyway, so Daniel Patrick Moynihan one time was talking about this, and it's when the action of estimating something is worthless. He was talking about the budget of New York, and they were trying to say, well, how, or the deficit. He goes, how much is it? He goes, oh, it's so big. It's a floccinaucinihilipilification. He says, and anybody who puts this in the paper correctly, I'll give you a case of wine. Well, he didn't realize that the wire, AP, UPI, the wires were there. And the next day, and he said, I take it back. But it's one of the greatest words in the world to explain something that's enormous. And then, by the way, the best word is a piece of food, a speck of food, a crumb, an ort, O-R-T. Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful.
Oh, he's writing it down. I don't know.
Look up something else.
I've got kids, so my big word is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
How about this too, Chris? This is a perlicue. You know, the philtrum, the perlicue was this little thing. Remember Bill Haley in the comments in Superman, that little curly hair? It's called a feet, F-E-A-T. There's words for everything. And my word for today is gratitude. Gratitude for you great people and this incredible product, C60 Evo. This is so much fun. And I want people to know I love you guys and I love talking about this. It's something that I really enjoy doing. This isn't just not that other products aren't fun. They're very fun, but this one is just, I don't know, we should take this on the road. You, me, you know, Roseanne and Bobby Kennedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, baby. I was doing one more word. The word shot. Do you know where the word shot came from?
From Schadenfreude? No, I don't know where.
The olden days, the cowboys used to go into the bar and they didn't have any money to pay for the liquor. So they'd say, I really want some whiskey. And the bartender would say, put a bullet on the counter and you'll get a shot. And they traded a bullet and then they started calling it a shot. So that's where shot came from. A shot of liquor is because they had to trade it for a bullet. And
you heard about mind your P's and Q's and your pints and quarts. And here's one for you, Chris. You're going to love this. The Germans are not enough to say happy, but they'll say happy and taking a delight in the pain of enemies, you know, Schadenfreude, you know, that kind of thing. Okay. There's Weltschmerz and Sitzfleisch, you know, where you can't sit still. But my favorite, there is a neurological disease. You can look it up. And it's when people are always making jokes, puns, inappropriate sexual humor. It's a frontal lobe, and it's called Witzelsucht. W-I-T-Z-E-L-S-U-C-H-T. Witzelsucht. And I thought to myself, leave it to the Germans to come up with naming a disease for somebody who's joking around too much. You know, Witzelsucht. Yep. Also, a wonderful. Remember years ago when Bob Dole would talk about Viagra. I know this has nothing to do with this, but they say, by the way, if you have an erection for more than 4 hours, please call someone, call a doctor. And that's priapism, and that's a very, very serious neurological problem you don't want to mess around with. And people laughed about this, but priapism. So I would like to go out and form support groups for it and have a little lapel pin, and it's from Priapus. You know that. So anyway, you heard it here first, but you know what? I'll bet you this will do something. If you got a 4-hour, you know, whatever, you put some of this tangerine stuff in, it may not affect it, but you'll at least smell good. There we go.
Bada bing.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Let's do it again. Please, C60Evo.com/Lionel Nation. Let's do it again, my friends. I love you so much. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, Lionel. This was awesome.